Hey folks, there's Shane. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. This is part two of a two-part series of an interview I had with Tom, November 3 Whiskey Sierra. Tom is the areas coordinator for his county. He's very active in his ham radio club, and he has the fantastic YouTube channel, TangoOscarMike. This video picks up pretty much where we left off on the first one, but if you haven't seen the first one, don't worry about it. There's no information that's going to be carried over that you'll need to know. But if you get a chance, check out the other one as well. Stepping stone to get past is the initial training to get, the FEMA training and everything that's required for Aries. I know there's a lot of people, we've had discussions before on gear versus skills and tactics where you can get a lot of hams that will be all excited about getting matching hats and safety vests and figure out which channels to designate as their frequencies. But then you ask them, how are you coming along on the training? Oh yeah, I haven't got that done yet, but I'm going to get to that sooner or later. How do you get people motivated to take the required training?
Yeah, that is a tough one.
Mhm,
I've done a lot of the training. I've done all the ICS training. I've done the ARRL Oxcom trainings.
mhm,
Um, I know quite a few people in our club have taken a training, but I know a lot of them haven't.
mhm,
As far as getting people involved, I found the more activities the club that the club does that are fun and enjoyable and people want to come out for, it's easier to build those relationships with the people in the club. And when you do activities, like we have a charity event coming up that we'll do race communications for. We'll have a net control station in one of the county command vehicles alongside somebody doing fire communications because that's also supported by the fire departments. And we have a ton of volunteers for this event this year,
mhm,
which is great. But I think it's because we've been doing other events that get people active in the club. We did Winter Field Day this year, which is the first year my club's done Winter Field Day. And normally I love going out and setting up a tent and doing Winter Field Day by
mhm.
myself and doing what I want to do. But this year I thought, you know what, I'm active in the club and I know there's other people in the club that would like to do Winter Field Day. And we actually made it a big event this year. We had a great time. And our normal field day is coming up. We're already in the planning process for that as well.
Mhm.
But it's our my club president, Joe N3XE. He is a great educational person. He has done. We're doing an antenna build coming up. He was the first person to help me build an NFED antenna, and now I build stacks of them. I have NFED incentives everywhere. Um, but every time we do something with the club and people come out to do it, it seems like the next event you do, more people come.
Mhm.
People are like, "Man, I built an antenna for like a fraction of the cost it costs to buy one."
Yep.
Or, "Hey, we did Winter Field Day. When are we going to all do a POTA together or something like that?"
Yeah, it,
But
it could build on the weekly nets when instead of just calling in and say that you mowed the lawn, when you call in and say, "Boy, I had a blast last weekend with Tom and the other guys where we built the antenna or we worked this event," and that gets the people more interested into it. I think too. It just kind of spreads on its own where they go, "Wow, that does sound like fun. Maybe I'll check it out next time."
yeah,
And
our weekly Tuesday, we have a net Tuesdays, uh, and we used to get 10, 12 people on the net, sometimes a little more. And a couple of years ago, I started every net. Before the net, I do my research. I find out all the activities that are going on that weekend, whether it's QSO parties, contests, or whatever. I try to let people know of any upcoming Ham Fest or other news,
mhm,
any projects that we're doing, classes, that kind of stuff. Just anything interesting that might be of service, to the
mhm,
club. And now we're getting close to 30 people in our check-ins
Oh, that's cool.
every net. And we're getting people from other areas checking into
Mhm.
our net.
Yep.
So I think as a club, we're doing a pretty good job of providing that to the people in the area. The only thing our club's lacking right now is an actual clubhouse. We were renting space from one of the fire departments, and they decided to sell the building.
Mhm.
And we, our club doesn't charge a lot of money. Our membership for a year is like $20. So being able to afford like to buy a building or something like that, and we're looking into ways we can accomplish that. But that's one thing we're lacking. So we're kind of doing things at different places. One of the fire departments lets us use their facility for our meetings and stuff like that, which is
Mhm.
really nice of them to do.
Cool.
Um, and then June 10th, I'm doing an event here at my house. We're calling it June Tenna, for antenna. So I'm calling it June Tenna. We're doing antenna build, and then we're going to do like some QR. If the weather's good, we'll be doing some QRP stuff outside. I got some
Cool.
little challenges in my mind, but all that ties into getting people involved in the club and people wanting to volunteer then when events come up. Yeah,
Mhm.
when I first started, they gave me, oh, you're the Aries guy. They gave me a list of all the people that were, had at one point signed up for membership in Aries at our club. And we'd get an event and I'd have trouble getting 4 people to volunteer for it.
Mhm.
I mean, it was just a struggle. It's like, please, we need people. We're not going to be able to support this.
Mhm.
And for this last event, man, I had just I have plenty of people, which is fantastic. It's just amazing to see. So,
Yep. Yeah, that's that, and that's we kind of danced around the subject of events, and in my mind, that's where Aries or just ham radio clubs and in general can really be a good service. Helping out on distance races like marathons, bike races. In my area, we have the one of the largest cross country ski races in the world. They have ham operators positioned at the checkpoints across the race, and we're used the local repeater there. And I've been doing it for the past couple of years. We're taking care of all the event coordination. When skiers drop off, we're radioing in the bid numbers, reason why they dropped out, whether it's equipment failure or fatigue or injury or what have you. And we're coordinating with EMS if there is an emergency.
emergency, yeah,
Of course, they're doing the heavy lifting on that, but we're kind of the relay for them. And I see that as taking the strain off emergency services. Uh, Long distance bike races, another one in this area is a dog sled race where ham radio operators are manning road crossings and stuff instead of a sheriff's deputy or DNR warden. So, we
yeah,
can lighten the load for them and help out on big events like that where if if the people volunteering for the event themselves try to do that with FRS walkie talkies or their cell phones, they may not have the success as we have using
yeah.
the 2 meter repeaters and everything. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, exactly. Everybody knows that when everybody's had that experience when, you go and bought those blister pack radios when you were younger and you tried to use them to talk to your friends and you're like, I can't talk to any,
hmm
you're across my yard and I can't hear you anymore. Um, and a lot of the events we do are supported by police, EMS, fire, but you're not going to hear them come over the police radio and say, hey, runner bib number 134
exactly.
just
Yep.
passed checkpoint 5. They don't
Yep.
do that. That's their radios for emergency communications.
hmm
So we're the ones passing that general traffic. Hey, aid station number 4 needs water or bananas or whatever.
hmm
We just did. There was a big event here. It's at one of the state parks near me. It's a 100-mile race, and it starts. I think they started at 2 a.m. Friday or Saturday morning, and we were there until Sunday. I worked a 9-hour shift at one of the aid stations, and I can't tell you how many runners came through and said, "Man, thank you guys for being here." Here's, I mean, they literally come up and they're like, oh, I'm bib number so and so. We didn't have to look. They would just tell us, check me
Mhm.
in, and all, thanks for being here, guys. And they take off. And just as a group at the aid station, at the aid station I was at, there was a military organization that helps vets get outdoors and do things. And I was with them, and we had a blast. And that event is supported by clubs from all over. One guy drove like 4 hours to volunteer for this event. He came down for the weekend. I think he was up in New York or something and drove down to just to volunteer for the event. And I think they had 48 volunteers. Some of them were working double shifts and working a shift one morning and then coming back 12 hours later to work another shift.
Mhm.
But like I said, I worked a 9 hour shift and I don't think I sat down.
Yeah.
I've never sat down once. We were just so busy and had such a good time helping the runners and just hanging out and having fun. And
Mhm.
that to me, that's the service of ham radio
Yeah.
is helping your community because that's what it is. You're helping other people in your community with all these charity events and stuff,
Mhm.
just helping to keep them safe and keep an eye on them.
Yeah. Yeah, helping the
I organ
community, sorry, but helping the community does not necessarily have to involve a tornado or an earthquake or a
Yeah,
hurricane or something. It's just helping out where you can help out. So, yeah,
yeah,
that thought just popped in my head. So sorry, I had to cut you
yeah.
off before it
No,
escaped.
I organize medical training for the people in my club. I got a class together, and everybody went to the class and got their CPR and first aid,
Hmm.
which is good. So we have a ton of people in our club that have those basic skills, which is you'd probably use that more than your radio skills in most some big
Hmm.
emergencies. But yeah, ham radio is a hobby. I love it. I have a lot of fun in it. But I was a firefighter, I was an EMT. I'm that type of person. I like to help other people. And I think a lot of the people that are in ham radio are the same way.
Hmm.
And especially you volunteer for these events and the runners go by and they're waving to you and saying, thank you for being out here and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, that makes you feel good. And I think that's what service is. I think that's what drives people to volunteer. Um, and it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm I'm in the same mindset where, you know, like we said in the beginning, it's not going to be ham radio coming in like the cavalry to save the day. We're going to be a supplement and a boost and a backup. So very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we know we're not in charge or have anything. We're
Hmm.
there just to try to stay out of the way and help out in any way we can. We're not self-deploying. If they
Hmm.
want us there, they'll call us, that type of thing.
Hmm.
Um, Somebody sent me a meme and it was somebody in the yellow vest and it said something about Aries getting in the way of public service since 1940 or something like that.
Right.
It was kind of funny.
Right.
But it's good. I do have some criticism on the Aries organization itself.
Hmm.
Um, Even though I'm an EC, the only time I hear from my regional coordinators is when there's a report due. I kind of was dropped into the position by default. I was helping out with some of the events, and then when the person doing it decided that he was stepping away, all of a sudden I got a phone call and somebody said, hey, or an email, hey, congratulations. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, you're the new emergency coordinator for the county. I'm like, what?
Oh,
Me?
yeah.
And I had only been a ham a short amount of time when that happened.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, I got the ARR sent me an Aries handbook, a little paper binder handbook thing. And that's been it.
Hmm.
I literally don't hear from anybody in the organization. I mean, I read the public safety articles in the ARRL, and they send out an email newsletter every once in a while. But I I don't think they're doing a lot to direct people on the local level or encourage the training.
Right.
That's my complaint, like I said, I think my club would be doing everything we're doing now, even if Aries didn't exist.
Mhm.
I would like to see the ARRL and Aries do more on the national level,
Mhm.
reaching out to the various coordinators, you know, encouraging people to do training. Maybe even the ARL could do some online training of its own.
Mhm.
Um, but I took the ARL classes, but it's all do it yourself. It's online. You just go log in and do
Right.
it. It's not like a classroom setting. The same with the FEMA courses. Um, and I don't know. I just think there should be more to it. Like I said, I haven't heard from my regional representatives or the ARRL other than what I read in the magazine.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and as an emergency coordinator, you spend a lot of time organizing for events, keeping track of nets, how many people were in the net, how many hours were they were on the net, calculating man hours. It's a lot of time, and uh, with the ARL, they just want that number, and
Right.
it's almost like they get all the credit for it, and we're doing all the work,
Mhm.
you know. But I mean, they do. I know they're probably doing stuff in the background. Like I saw that they had got the some of the ICS stuff updated. So there's actually a section in there now about ham radio that happened earlier this year, which is great. Um, but you know, for my area, like I said, I live in a fairly safe area. We don't have giant storms. We don't have tornadoes, although we have had some tornadoes the last couple of years, and some areas were damaged, but not like other areas where they have hurricanes and massive tornadoes where there's no power for 5 or 6 days and horrible stuff like that. So
Right.
feel pretty lucky that way.
Right. Yeah, and I just had a dark thought. I've heard people say, "I'm not going to bother with it because there's all these forms you got to fill out, this training you got to get. The sheriff's department doesn't want to have anything to do with this. We're never going to be used." But if you still want to be a service, like we're saying for events and stuff, there's no requirement to be Aries to help out with your local uh 5K run that the
Yeah,
the high school puts on for fundraising for the DC trip or what have you. Just approach the people and say, "Hey, we have a few people we'd like to help out with any communication support," and kind of build from there.
yeah,
Uh, it's an option for those that just don't want to wade through everything. It's
yeah,
much better than like the meme, just self deploying with your Baofeng bandolero and safety vest and saying, where do I go? Be a service. It doesn't have to be organized through the government or through ARRL. It can be
yeah,
grassroots to a level like that, kind of a neighborhood
yeah.
watch type thing.
And I think if you're doing that kind of stuff in your community, somebody's going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
The county's going to notice, or somebody's going to notice that your group is there helping during these events, because more than likely you're going to run into the police officers that are there,
Mm-hmm.
the EMS that are there. Um, After every event we do, whether it's a training session, whether it's a run or something like that, I send an after action report to the Department of Public Safety.
Mm-hmm.
I type up how many volunteers we had, what we did, you know, how things went, if there's something that we can do better next time. And, I just send a couple of paragraphs to them and, send it off to them. And a lot of times I'm thanking them too for their support and,
Mm-hmm.
allowing us to participate in those activities with them. But I think all those little steps, eventually pay off with what you're doing. And like I said, now if we need something, if we want to do a drill and we want one of the county trucks there,
Mm-hmm.
I literally just send a form and say, hey, we would like, one of
Oh.
this truck here. This is when we're going to be there. Like we haven't done a ham fest in a few years, and I'm the ham fest chairman, and COVID kind of knocked our ham fest out, and now we're kind of shifting what we used to do. We used to do a real big ham fest and run out like the fairgrounds area, but our Hamfest kept getting seemed to just dwindling and dwindling, and
Hmm.
it's too expensive to rent that area anymore. So we're renting a smaller space and a parking lot to do our Hamfest. And if we might get the truck for the county there to put the truck there just to show what the county's doing, because those
Right.
are vehicles that, the community, paid for and the county is using them. They do get deployed to crime scenes and everything else. We're normally not a part of that
Hmm.
because there are usually more security issues along that way. And because we're not county employees, it's like, well, we're not going to take you to a hostage situation or something.
Right. Right.
But we can set the truck up, we can exercise it, we can look at things, make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to be. If we see an issue, we report it and say, hey, you know, we saw, this radio wasn't working, or um, something electrical in the truck wasn't functioning. We can
Hmm.
do that. A lot of times that equipment does sit there for a while, not be doesn't get used for a while. So when we use it, it comes out, we run the generator for a day. It gets, you maintain the generator, make sure everything's okay,
Hmm.
and then it's ready for the next time.
Cool. Well, I got just over 2.5 minutes left on this Zoom. I just have the basic thing. But I just want to thank you very much for doing this. And if you want to have a part two, more than welcome. Uh, to
Yeah.
close out, do you have any advice for any areas group that doesn't have an end with their county and would like to establish uh, a great setup that like you have? What would you tell them to start with?
Yeah, it's hard because, like I said, I didn't do that, but I think I would be direct. I think I would try to contact the Department of Public Safety. I think you should be established first, be helping out in your community with those volunteer events and say, look, we're helping out at this event and this event. We would just like
Right.
some,
Yeah.
maybe some support from the county or recognition, hey, we know we're not coming in to save the day or anything like that, but we can help out and offload some duties or activity if something does happen. Like I said, there's still a requirement for some alternative communication,
Hmm.
because I've seen those county forms and they're like, oh, hey, do you have ham radio in your county? It's like, oh yeah, and you fill it out. And that benefits the county, having those services, that they have that access.
Hmm.
Um, because FEMA and PEMA here, Pennsylvania Emergency Management, they still recognize that it is still something that could be an asset. Not that
Right.
it's going to be that big asset and save the day, but it's possible that it could do something beneficial to the community if the time comes.
Cool. Cool. Well, perfect. Yeah, we got about a minute, so you timed it perfect, just like you know what you're doing. Thank you so much, Tom, for helping me out with this little project. Uh, I enjoy your channel.
Yeah.
You put out some great stuff. Right in my wheelhouse. You're into backpacking and QRP radio, so very fun. And say hi to
Good.
Augie for me because I'm a dog lover. So that guy's he,
Yeah,
he's the
he's sleeping over here.
yeah,
So,
he's the
okay,
co-star of their videos. So awesome. Thanks, Tom.
sure.
All
We'll
right.
see you, Shane. Have a
Yep.
good night.
You too.